Francis Ford Coppola, a controversial director known for some of the best films ever made. What about him? From redefining the gangster genre to exploring the chaos of war, and from creating a lush, gothic vampire tale to envisioning a confusing urban dystopia. Let's get into it! Please help your favorite average movie guy get to 1,000 subscribers by subscribing right now. A generational start to a career. The Godfather in 1972. After directing a slew of mostly mediocre films, including Battle Beyond the Sun, The Bellboy and the Playgirls, Tonight for Sure, The Terror, Dementia 13, You're a Big Boy Now, Finian's Rainbow, and The Rain People, Coppola was still a young filmmaker with promise, but no one expected him to redefine the gangster genre. This wasn't just another gangster picture, it was the rise and fall of an American dynasty. The story follows the Corleone family, one of New York's most powerful crime syndicates. At the head is Don Vito Corleone, a man of quiet authority who rules with a mix of generosity and ruthlessness. When an assassination attempt leaves him weakened, his youngest son Michael is reluctantly pulled into the world he tried to avoid. For Coppola, this wasn't just a crime story, it was a family saga, rich with themes of loyalty, betrayal, and the corrupting influence of power. He fought to keep the setting in the late 1940s and early 50s, and to cast Marlon Brando as Vito and an unknown Al Pacino as Michael. The results spoke for themselves. Critics hailed it as a masterpiece, praising its operatic scope, meticulous detail, and moral complexity. I can't agree more, to me it is also one of the best films ever made. Audiences turned it into the most financially successful film ever made at the time, with a massive $250 million worldwide. It was nominated 7 times at the Academy Awards, winning 3: Best Picture, Best Actor for Brando, and Best Adapted Screenplay. Half a century later, The Godfather endures not just as a landmark of the gangster genre, but as a timeless American tragedy, where family bonds and the pursuit of power are inextricably and fatally linked.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
The Conversation, 1974. Coming in between two masterpieces, Coppola delivered something completely different. A small, tightly wound character study that traded operatic crime drama for the quiet hum of paranoia. The film follows Harry Cole, a surveillance expert for hire played with restrained precision by Gene Hackman. Harry is the best in the business, able to capture private conversations from almost any distance. But when a routine job yields a cryptic recording of a young couple, he becomes convinced they are in danger. It's a story less about what's said than about what's heard, and the gasp in between. The film's world of eavesdropping, hidden microphones, and corporate secrecy mirrored the growing public unease about surveillance and privacy in America. Critics praised its deliberate pacing and atmospheric tension, and at the Cannes Film Festival it won the Palme d'Or. It was also nominated for 3 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and while not a blockbuster, only grossing just under $5 million worldwide, it proved that Coppola could command both epic spectacle and intimate storytelling, sometimes in the same year.
Best what? The best bugger on the West Coast.
The Godfather Part 2, 1974. Later that same year, Coppola returned to the Corleone family, but instead of simply continuing the story, he reinvented it. The film is both a sequel and a prequel. In one timeline, we follow Michael Corleone in the late 1950s, now the undisputed head of the family, expanding the business into Las Vegas, Cuba, and beyond. In the other timeline, we see the early life of young Vito Corleone, from his escape from Sicily to building his empire in New York, played with quiet charm and cunning by Robert De Niro. The structure deepens the saga's themes, contrasting Michael's descent into moral darkness with Vito's rise from nothing. It's a story about power gained, power lost, and the family bonds that both hold people together and tear them apart. Critics were divided at first over its slow pacing and complex structure, but over time it came to be regarded as one of the greatest sequels in film history. Also, in my opinion, it is just fantastic. The film was nominated 9 times at the Academy Awards, and it became the first sequel to win Best Picture, and also taking home Oscars for Director, Supporting Actor for De Niro, Adapted Screenplay, Art Direction, and Original Score. It was also somewhat of a commercial success, albeit a bit disappointing compared to the first, grossing around $48 million domestically. Today, The Godfather Part 2 stands as both a continuation and an expansion, turning what could have been a single great film into one of cinema's most enduring sagas.
He taught me, keep your friends close.
Apocalypse Now, 1979. After 5 years away from the director's chair, Coppola finally returned. He now had already proven he could master both intimate drama and sprawling family epics. With this film, he set out to tackle something even more ambitious, a Vietnam War film that wasn't just about war, but about the madness it creates. The story follows Captain Benjamin Willard, played by Martin Sheen, who is sent deep into the Cambodian jungle on a secret mission to locate and assassinate Colonel Walter Kurtz, a decorated officer who has gone rogue. Along the way, Willard encounters surreal fragments of war, each step bringing him closer to the heart of darkness. The production became legendary for its chaos. Filming in the Philippines was plagued by typhoons, illness, and budget overruns. Martin Sheen suffered a heart attack on set. Marlon Brando arrived overweight and unprepared, forcing Coppola to rethink entire scenes. The director himself later admitted, "We had access to too much money, too much equipment, and little by little we went insane." But out of that chaos came a singular vision, a hallucinatory, operatic descent into moral and psychological collapse. The film premiered at Cannes in an unfinished state and still won the Palme d'Or. When actually released, it drew critical acclaim for its ambition, cinematography, and haunting sound design. Though some viewers were unsettled by its non-linear, dreamlike structure, audiences showed up, with the film grossing over $105 million worldwide. Over the decades, Apocalypse Now has been reappraised as one of the definitive war films, not for its accuracy, but for how it captures the disorienting, consuming madness of conflict.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Narrowing the scope. The Outsiders, 1983. After directing One from the Heart and Hammett, Coppola shifted gears in the early 1980s, turning to a gentler, more romantic kind of storytelling. This film, based on S.E. Hinton's beloved novel, told a coming-of-age story set in 1960s Oklahoma. The film follows Ponyboy Curtis, a sensitive greaser caught between loyalty to his gang and a longing for something beyond the violence of his small-town life. Alongside his brothers and friends, played by a cast of soon-to-be stars including Tom Cruise, Patrick Swayze, Rob Lowe, Emilio Estevez, and Matt Dillon, Ponyboy navigates friendship, class division, and the sudden, irreversible consequences of one tragic night. Coppola approached the material with a heightened, almost storybook style. The project came about in part because a group of schoolchildren who loved the novel wrote to Coppola urging him to adapt it, a personal connection that fueled the film's sincerity. While critics were divided, some found the sentimentality heavy-handed, others praised its sincerity. Audiences embraced it. On a modest budget, the film grossed more than $25 million domestically, proving there was still an appetite for heartfelt, youth-driven dramas. Today, it is remembered as both a time capsule of early 80s Hollywood and a formative moment in Coppola's career, the point where he traded operatic tragedy for the aching simplicity of adolescence.
Let's do it for Johnny, man. We'll do it for Johnny!
Rumble Fish, 1983. That same year, Coppola returned to the world of S.E. Hinton, but this time the result was far more experimental. This wasn't just another teen drama, it was a moody, dreamlike meditation on time, identity, and the struggle to escape the past. The story centers on Rusty James, played by Matt Dillon, a hot-headed street thug trying to live up to the reputation of his older brother. As Rusty drifts through gang rivalries, fractured relationships, and his own lack of direction, the film becomes less about plot and more about mood, memory, and inevitability. Coppola shot Rumble Fish almost entirely in black and white, with occasional bursts of color. The cinematography drew inspiration from German Expressionism and the French New Wave, giving the film a surreal, stylized look that stood in sharp contrast to the warmth of The Outsiders. Critics were sharply divided, some dismissed it as self-indulgent, while others hailed it as a daring piece of visual poetry. Commercially, it was a disappointment, earning only about $2.5 million domestically against its $10 million budget. But over time, Rumble Fish developed a loyal cult following, particularly among fans of experimental cinema, who see it as one of Coppola's boldest and most personal works.
I would have never been able to think of something like that.
Peggy Sue Got Married, 1986. After directing The Cotton Club, Coppola steered away from gangsters, war, and stylized youth dramas to tell a gentler, more whimsical story. This film is a time-travel dramedy about looking back at the choices that shape a life and wondering what might have been. The film follows Peggy Sue, played by Kathleen Turner, who faints at her high school reunion and wakes up in the 1960s, inhabiting her teenage body but retaining all her adult memories. Given the chance to relive her youth, she navigates old friendships, first loves, and her relationship with her future husband Charlie, played by Nicolas Cage, who is Coppola's nephew, an interesting fact for you there. While the premise leans into fantasy, Coppola grounds it with warmth and emotional honesty, capturing both the innocence and awkwardness of high school life in mid-century America. The film earned 3 Academy Award nominations and performed well commercially, grossing over $41 million domestically, and audiences responded to its mix of humor, nostalgia, and bittersweet reflection. For Coppola, Peggy Sue Got Married proved he could deliver a charming, character-driven film without the grand spectacle, a reminder that even the director of The Godfather could tell small stories with big emotional resonance.
I don't know. I forgot.
A return to mostly critical and commercial success. The Godfather Part 3, 1990. After directing Gardens of Stone, Tucker, The Man in His Dreams, and New York Stories, nearly 2 decades after The Godfather changed cinema, Coppola returned to the Corleone saga for one final chapter. The film was never meant to happen. Coppola had considered the story complete, but a combination of studio pressure and financial troubles brought him back to the family business. Set in 1979, the film follows an older, wary Michael Corleone, once again played by Al Pacino, as he tries to steer the family towards legitimacy. Haunted by the sins of his past, Michael seeks redemption through philanthropy and business reforms, but his ties to the Vatican and his family's criminal legacy pull him deeper into intrigue and betrayal. Production was marked by a last-minute casting change. Winona Ryder, originally set to play Mary, dropped out due to exhaustion, leading Coppola to cast his daughter Sophia. Her performance was widely criticized, overshadowing much of the film's strengths. Critically, Part 3 received mixed reviews. While praised for Pacino's performance, the cinematography, and the operatic finale, it was seen as weaker than its predecessors. Commercially, however, it was a success, grossing $139 million worldwide and earning 7 Academy Awards nominations, winning none. Over time, Coppola has revisited the film, releasing The Godfather Coda, The Death of Michael Corleone in 2020, a re-edited version that tightened the narrative and gave the trilogy ending a more reflective tone.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Bram Stoker's Dracula in 1992. 2 years later, Coppola turned his attention to gothic horror, bringing a lavish and operatic vision to Bram Stoker's Dracula. This wasn't a straightforward monster film, it was a grand, romantic reinterpretation of the classic vampire tale, steeped in theatricality and old-world artistry. The story follows Count Dracula, played by Gary Oldman, who after centuries of darkness believes he has found the reincarnation of his long-lost love in Mina Harker. As Dracula crosses oceans and centuries to reclaim her, Professor Van Helsing races to stop him. Coppola embraced a handmade approach to the production. Rather than relying on CGI, he used practical effects, in-camera tricks, and elaborate sets to evoke a sense of Victorian fantasy. The result was a film that felt both visually extravagant and strangely intimate. Critically, the film was divisive, praised for its visuals, atmosphere, and Oldman's performance, but sometimes criticized for its melodrama and uneven accents. Commercially, it was a major success, grossing over $250 million worldwide. It also won 3 Academy Awards, Best Costume Design, Best Makeup, and Best Sound Editing. For Coppola, Bram Stoker's Dracula was proof that he could still deliver a box office hit while staying true to a bold, highly stylized vision.
Welcome to my home.
Jack, 1996. After a 4-year absence, Coppola made one of the most surprising pivots of his career, a sentimental family dramedy starring Robin Williams. Jack told the story of a boy who ages 4 times faster than normal, giving him the appearance of a 40-year-old man while still being emotionally and mentally a child. Williams plays Jack Powell with his trademark mix of humor and pathos, navigating the awkwardness of being different while longing for a normal childhood. Coppola directed the film with sincerity, aiming for a heartfelt exploration of life's fleeting nature and the value of living in the moment. Critically, Jack was poorly received, with many reviewers calling it overly sentimental and tonally uneven. It holds a low approval rating today and is often cited as one of Coppola's misfires. Commercially, however, it performed respectably, grossing around $58 million domestically, boosted by Robin Williams' star power. Though not considered a high point in Coppola's filmography, Jack stands as one of his most unusual projects. A reminder that even great auteurs sometimes take unexpected detours, and he was soon about to take many more.
I'll make it quick, like my life.
The Rainmaker, 1997. The following year, Coppola returned to more grounded territory, trading operatic spectacle for restrained, character-driven drama. Coppola crafted a sharp, well-paced courtroom story with a strong emotional core. The film follows Rudy Baylor, played by Matt Damon in one of his early leading roles, a young, idealistic lawyer fresh out of law school. With no experience and few prospects, Rudy takes on a seemingly impossible case, representing a family whose insurance company has denied their claim for a life-saving medical treatment. Facing off against a team of high-powered corporate attorneys, Coppola kept the focus on performances and tight storytelling, resisting the urge for flashy legal theatrics. Critically, The Rainmaker was well received, with praise for Damon's breakout performance and Coppola's disciplined direction. Many considered it one of the best Grisham adaptations of the era. Commercially, it earned a respectable $46 million domestically, not a blockbuster, but a solid showing for a mid-budget legal drama in the late 90s. While it didn't match the cultural impact of his earlier masterpieces, The Rainmaker proved Coppola could still deliver smart, engaging mainstream filmmaking, a skill he would very much step away from in the years that followed.
All due respect, Mr. Drummond, this is my deposition. I'm going to call these witnesses in the order in which I see fit.
Going into obscurity. Megalopolis, 2024. After directing a slew of films ranging from bad to mediocre, including Supernova, Youth Without Youth, Tetro, and Twixt, and then moving away from Hollywood altogether for 13 years, Coppola returned for a renaissance that didn't end up being one at all, with this sprawling, ambitious epic that once again tested the boundaries of his visionary storytelling. Set in an alternate United States and New Rome, Megalopolis explores themes of urban decay, societal collapse, and the struggle to rebuild amidst chaos. The film centers on a brilliant architect named Caesar Catalina, played by Adam Driver, and his attempt to construct a utopian city from the ruins, clashing with powerful political and corporate forces determined to maintain control. But honestly, even after watching it, you will have no idea what it's actually about beyond that. Megalopolis was a passion project decades in the making. Coppola took a bold, experimental approach, blending classical filmmaking techniques with cutting-edge technology. The film's release was highly anticipated, with critics recognizing it as a daring, if polarizing, statement from one of cinema's greatest auteurs. Reactions were mixed to very negative. Some praised its grandeur and vision, others found it overly dense. But I didn't know what I watched. Hard to follow, weirdly edited, and acted like a soap opera. Commercially, the film performed disastrously, only grossing over $14 million worldwide and a budget almost 10 times that, reflecting the challenges of marketing such an unconventional epic in today's film landscape. Megalopolis sparked renewed discussion about Coppola's legacy and his uncompromising artistic ambition. Above all, it was a sign that with one of his worst films to date after this long an absence, it was time to call it quits for sure.
So go back to the club.
And there you have it, the full career of Francis Ford Coppola, from his early triumphs with some of the best films ever made, to a slew of disappointments later in life. Now let me ask you, what is your favorite Francis Ford Coppola film? And what did you think of his last film, Megalopolis? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe for more videos like these. I have been Dean, the average movie guy on your screen. Big thanks for watching. See you next time. Roll the credits.